let's talk about my girl, Letitia James. Now, Letitia James is one of the biggest offenders of justice, in my opinion, in the United States of America. There is a reason, I believe there is a reason why they try so fervently to prevent Trump from being able to get in office in the places that some of these liberals already had a stronghold, but obviously they knew that it didn't really matter of whether or not he was elected in New York. It didn't really matter if whether or not he was elected in California. You know why? Because we knew how they were going to vote anyway, and so it didn't make a difference. What we were more concerned about was if he was going to win the swing states. Now, they were leveraging people like Fonnie Willis down there in Fulton County, Georgia, who filed all of these false charges against the Trump administration. We often at times see Jasmine Crockett bloviate. I like that word, bloviate. And we see her make false accusations. She says, well, Trump is a convicted felon. Well, as a result of what? A witch hunt. We know that Fonnie Willis, according to White House records, actually met with Kamala Harris, according to White House records. This is not my opinion. We know for a fact that Fonnie Willis and her little boy toy and Andre Dickens, the mayor of Atlanta, took a trip up to the White House prior to charges being filed down there in Fulton County, Georgia, in order to prevent Trump to ultimately become the president of the United States of America. And Letitia James played her role too. But it's a very bad thing when you start to throw stones and you live in a glass house. Listen, if you are going to be one of the biggest champions, one of the biggest people that's at the front of the congregation, the biggest protesters that say, yep, we need to hold this guy accountable. Yep, we want to go ahead and convict him. Yep, we want to throw him under the jail. I have to start questioning you because your entire platform and how you got elected was all based off of the fact that you were promising the people that you was going to go after Trump. Why do you want to go after this great American so badly? Why don't you want the election process to take its course and let the people determine whether or not he's going to become president of the United States of America? They literally tried to take our choices from us. They tried to take our choices from us. They did not want to allow for us to be able to determine for ourselves if we wanted Trump to be president of the United States or not. I always find that liberals become less tolerant of the other side, and diversity, equity, and inclusion goes out the door when they don't agree with you. But here we are. And eventually we knew that certain things was going to come to the light. You start digging enough, you're going to find what you need. That's why I tell women to stay out of men's phones. Stop looking for something that you're going to find. That's a whole nother conversation. I Choose You Too tour is coming soon. Anyways, Letitia James is being held accountable, and it's being recommended that she basically face charges over something that we didn't know was happening, but we realized that she just a ghetto boo just like everybody else. She just got a high position and she talked proper. Let me help you to understand.
Speaking of the law, the Trump administration referring New York Attorney General Letitia James for possible prosecution over suspected, get this, fraud over a mortgage on a house in Virginia.
Todd Pyro joins us now with the details. Todd?
Good morning to all four of you. Remember that song from the 90s, Things That Make You Go, This is that. The Ingram angle obtaining documents from the Federal Housing Finance Agency accusing James of, quote, falsifying records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. Now, here is what she's accused of doing. 1, listing a home in Virginia as her primary residence in 2023 while serving as New York's top prosecutor.
Now, everybody knows, anybody, because that's the light thing. We're going to get to the more complicated things shortly. Everybody knows that you have to have a residence, or you should be a resident of whatever respective place that you are then running for office for. If I want to run for the mayor or city council of Detroit, guess what? I have to be a resident by a certain time in order to continue to keep that. And I should not be changing my residence during the time or my tenure if I just so happen to win to become president or mayor or whatever it is that I need to run for that particular city or that particular position. And so she was already finessing so that she can get favorable terms. And she was doing the same thing that a bunch of other people are doing, but we have to hold our public servants that are using taxpayer dollars and getting paid by taxpayer dollars to a higher standard, We have to hold our public servants to a higher standard. So first of all, she was already using a fake address, or maybe it was a real address. I don't know.
2, James reportedly also listed her father as her husband on mortgage applications. (2023) while serving as New York's top prosecutor. 2, James reportedly also listed her father as her husband on mortgage applications. And 3, the Federal Housing Finance Agency says she bought a 5-family home in Brooklyn, but misrepresented the same property as only having 4 units in building permit applications and numerous documents. Now, this, of course, is a role reversal of sorts for James. In 2022, she won a $454 million civil fraud judgment against President Trump and the Trump Organization.
Molly, you said she not married? I thought she was married. I know that the guy that she was talking to, or at least the guy that they were saying was her husband. Let me pull him up. This is what I seen, right? This is the picture that I seen. Now, y'all tell me if I'm off or not. This is the picture that I seen. Let me ask y'all a question while we look at this. Now, I am not a person that believes that anybody should criticize somebody that is talking to somebody that is of another race. How come all of the biggest pro-black people, y'all support them because they black? Make sure you elect the black woman, the first black woman, this and that, so on and so forth. From Kamala Harris all the way over to, and again, you're talking to a person that is cool. I am an advocate. For people going where they can find love, where they celebrate it, not where they tolerate it. But why is it that we use race to justify electing people, the first woman, the first black woman, or whatever, so on and so forth? We hold men. I seen Jasmine Crockett just a couple weeks ago was being held accountable for some of the incendiary remarks that she made about Byron Donalds, because Byron Donalds, who has been married for a long time, by the way, and is a phenomenal father and is a great legislator. Byron Donalds was just being held accountable by Jasmine Crockett, who then championed Kamala Harris for divesting and not actually talking to a black woman. And then every single time, this is what's being alleged. I don't understand it. I don't. Then again, I think that people should talk to whoever it is that they want to talk to. But I'm trying to understand, why is these standards only applicable when they want to call you out of your name and when you're on the other side, but it's not applicable when it comes to the people that's on the same side that is using this as leverage to continue to get themselves in a position that they need to be in? Just a question. But they're saying that she listed her father as her husband in order to get more favorable terms for her mortgage rates.
Stating he falsified business records and misrepresented his net worth. That case currently on appeal. James frequently sat in the courtroom throughout those proceedings. No love lost between the two, as you can see in some of these pictures. President Trump reacting to the new accusations against her, writing on Truth Social. Letitia James, a totally corrupt politician, should resign from her position as New York State Attorney General immediately. Everyone is trying to make New York great again, and it can never be done with this wacky crook in office. Fox News contributor and law professor Jonathan Turley also weighing in. Watch.
The irony is perfectly crushing. This is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress. As for James, if we apply the Letitia James standard that she created, there'd be little question here. This seems pretty straightforward.
Letitia James has not responded to our request for.
Well, of course she didn't.
Guys, back over to you.
It is such a crazy story, but Todd, I mean, there she.
Of course she didn't. let's actually go over to the initial report where they were talking about this. And I believe it was as a courtesy of Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingram's show was the one that broke this story. Let's dig into it.
It's important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law. The president of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The Angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James.
Somebody get Carrie on the phone. Quentin is being mean, saying that she got an extra neck.
The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type and more favorable loan. Joining me now is Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor and law professor at GW University. Jonathan, mortgage fraud is rampant in the United States. There's all sorts of fraud that's rampant. There's disability fraud that they've vowed to crack down on in the Trump administration. But this is another thing that they have vowed to crack down on because it costs real money. Your reaction to these allegations?
Well, obviously, the irony is perfectly crushing. This is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress. And among the charges that were brought in New York, in not just the civil but the criminal case, was making false or misleading statements to financial institutions. And one of these sections, Section 1014 of the federal code, is prosecuted. It took me about 60 seconds of a search to find cases that the Department of Justice brought against people who falsely claimed that property was their principal residence in order to get loans. So this is well-tread areas for the Justice Department. As for James, if we apply the Letitia James standard that she created, there'd be little question here. This seems pretty straightforward. What the administration is saying is this was not her principal residence. In fact, as a New York elected official, she had to say that her principal residence was in New York. This was an out-of-state residence. But also, they claim that in some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband in order to file as a married couple. So there's a lot of those questions. And as you know, the Supreme Court just stated earlier in March in a case called Thompson that they want to see knowing false statements under sections like 1014, not just misleading statements. These are misleading statements. Either it's your principal residence or it's not.
Or it's not.
Either you're married to your father or he's your father. So they can this can satisfy the Thompson standard.
Yeah, well, Jonathan, we reached out to the DOJ, and they have no comment on this referral. We also reached out to Attorney General James, who did not respond to us either. So, again, everyone wants the best interest rate you can get. I understand that. But, she's a lawyer. She knows that when you sign a mortgage application, that mortgage application, if you're borrowing money, if you're not borrowing money, nobody cares whether it's your principal residence, except, where you file your taxes. But she decided to state that that was her principal residence, knowing it was not her principal residence. I didn't even know she had property. I mean, I guess she had property in Virginia and she has rental or investment property in New York. That's fine. But in the New York matter, to get the favorable rate, the building could only have 4 units. But for, it looks like the entirety of this building, it had 5 units, meaning it was in violation of the actual loan agreement. And again, This is not a novel application of the law, Jonathan. As you stated during the persecution of Donald Trump, she was using all these novel applications of law to go after him. This isn't novel. This is a black and white issue. You either did or you didn't.
Right, and this has been prosecuted in the past. Now, we have not heard her side of this, but these documents themselves are quite damning. It's hard to see how the residences listed were her principal residence. The business about her father is just bizarre. Now, I'll note that one of the things that Letitia James stressed in her case against Trump is that Trump had to review documents that were filed in his name. And so she dismissed the argument that this was something that Trump's people put together. She said he's ultimately responsible. So they allege that she gave a power of attorney in a couple of these instances, but according to her own standard, that's not enough.
She needs to be brought to the front of the congregation. She needs to be held accountable. Somebody needs to force her to answer for whatever it is that she's being accused of. And if she can't answer it correctly, then she needs to be thrown under the jail and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, the same way that she tried to use the law against the Trump administration. She needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The same way that she was throwing stones at Trump in a glass house, we need to go and make sure that she's held accountable and her reputation needs to be placed on the line. No exceptions. No grace, no nothing. We need to make sure that she's held accountable 100%. If this is true, and I believe in our justice system, I believe that it's innocent until proven guilty, she needs to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Flat out. No exceptions. That's where I stand on this. I don't think that there's anything that we need to figure out. I think that we know exactly where we stand on this. All right? Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and it's all of these people is getting exposed. All of these people are getting exposed for who they truly are, and they were ops from the beginning, but y'all supported them, y'all loved them, y'all rocked with them, and now they making y'all look bad. Who said, no, Anton, she's a black queen, and she can do no wrong? Why would you? Okay, so listen, who thinks to put their father, respectfully, and I know that it's a lot of people that do a lot of finessing and is trying to figure it out. Here's my question. Who thinks to put their father as their husband? That is some diabolical finessing. You know that those mortgage documents exist forever, right? We're not talking about a rent application where you inflate your income a little bit. We're not talking about arguing with your baby daddy on who gonna claim the dependent. We talking about straight up and down mortgage fraud, finessing. The same thing that she's supposed to be prosecuting is the thing that she's guilty of. Well, maybe not guilty of. I don't want to go that far. We got an innocent until proven guilty. We believe in a court of law. Even though they didn't believe in the court of law and they was trying to hold Trump accountable as a result of it, we believe in the court of law and we got to do things in order. So, we going to see, and we going to see how that plays out. And they really tried to go against the president of the United States of America. That's crazy.